to New Orleans, you ought to go see the Mardi Gras. If you go to New Orleans, you ought to go see the Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras! And welcome to another episode of Tales from the Parade Route. Tonight we are joined by John from Krewe of Arthur. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing all right.
So, for starters, the Krewe started in 1977.
This is correct.
And I've read some interesting facts about how the Krewe came to be.
Okay.
That Phil and a friend in like elementary school or middle school were talking about, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do a parade? And
yeah,
one thing led to another to where, you know, a few years later, once they got out of high school, they were able to get all the ducks in a row and found a parade.
Yep, that's pretty much it. The middle school, they were talking, and I think they actually coordinated a ball in high school, if I'm not mistaken, where it was a Mardi Gras style, senior dance type of thing.
They had a lot of help from other crews in the area, particularly Choctaw seemed to really lend a hand with floats and everything early on, and that was really, great of them to help the crew get going.
Yes, it was. They, in fact, we actually work with Choctaw a lot. They help us, and we help them. There's other crews that there's a friendly working relationship that we have with where everybody helps each other be a success on the street and then behind the scenes.
It's necessary with the size of the crews these days. You have to help each other. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of size of crews, y'all's crew, I think I saw last year a fact that y'all were like the 8th largest crew that was rolling in Mardi Gras, 8th or 9th, something like that.
2 years ago we were 9th. Last year we were tied with Bacchus at 1,600 for 5th place, 5th or 6th place. With 1,600 this year we're hovering around 1,700.
Is there a limit to the number of crew members, or is it just a limit to the number of floats that put in place in New Orleans?
Well, for us, it's a limit on the number of floats because we own our own floats.
Right.
And based on a simple, measure the float and calculate how much space you want to allot each member, it's pretty easy to come up with our total number of floats can hold 3,800 and whatever number of people, depending on how tight you jam them on a float. So that's our restricting factor. We have no limit set. We used to have a limit that we won't go over 600 or we won't go over 1,000, and we kept changing numbers. We said, well, why don't we just get rid of that number and then we'll just be what we'll be for whatever year that is. So if it's 200 people, it's 200 people. If it's 800, it's 800, and just try to put the best product with whatever people join.
Initially, with y'all's history, y'all started out on the West Bank.
Yes, this was before my time. I had joined in 2002, and the crew, that was when they were already on the St. Charles Avenue route. They started in the West Bank, on the West Bank in West Wego, and they moved a couple of times. I want to say they paraded on the first weekend, the second weekend. It was daytime, nighttime. Towards the end of their time on the West Bank, I want to say the last route was somewhere in Gretna, and I couldn't tell you exactly what the route was.
Yeah, I used to roll down
I know
the main drag.
4th Street and
I forget the name. I don't go over there very often, but
Huey Long or something like that. Yeah. And the membership was actually pretty thin at that time, towards the end of the 90s. And then they made the move. They were able to get the New Orleans permit. It was the same time Muses was applying for their permit. So they got the permit, jumped behind Carrollton, the Krewe of Carrollton, and which nobody wanted to parade on that first Sunday, and now it seems like everybody wants that first
I
weekend.
think there's 4 now that day.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you've seen the news. Allah's moving.
Yeah,
to Friday.
Al's moving to Friday,
Oh, that's
so I
right,
think it's
yeah.
back down to 3.
Right.
But still, that weekend
it
was
was a day.
action packed.
It was, yeah. That was another reason. One of the reasons we started forcing our float lieutenants to tandem floats, and we actually talked to the other captains on that Sunday last year and the year before that in an effort to self-impose marching groups and other elements besides the floats, because those are the things that really make the parade long. It's not the floats are 50 foot, 40 foot, 30 foot, whatever. You put a marching band in there, it can be half a block, almost a block long.
Right, especially when you've got someone like a St. Aug
or Easton or any of these bigger schools. So if you eliminate, get rid of 2 and 3 of those marching elements between the floats, it shrinks it down considerably. And I want to say 2 years ago was the first time Allah on that Sunday night came in and the sun was still up. Before then, they were still coming in at night.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the first few years when Allah moved over to the New Orleans route.
Right.
And we were catching it at that time relatively close to the front.
Well, the first year they came over, Femme Fatale. Well, they came over, and the following year, Femme Fatale jumped behind them, and so it got even worse because Carrollton's start time was traditional 12 noon.
Yeah, they're not moving. They're stubborn.
And they were like, we're not moving. We got our breakfast. We got our thing. We got our schedule. We're not moving. We've been doing this for, we're the 5th oldest crew. Well, Carrollton was the 5th oldest crew, so they didn't want to move, and so then the city put Femme Fatale to an earlier time, which I guess they didn't mind starting earlier, which got them out of the darkness, but it still left Allah kind of on that borderline. So
Yeah, you don't want to be like the dusk parade. It's either daytime or nighttime.
right.
Like the transition to it is a little strange because the floats aren't really decorated for nighttime or lighted in the way that you would if you were a night crew, So,
Right.
but I don't know if they go out of their way to do it or not. But you don't want that landing at dark at time.
So you mentioned also that prior to the show that you had the honor of serving as king for the crew.
Yes. In addition to being one of the board members, I served actually in 2012. I was Merlin, which is one of our characters. We have a float specifically for that character, and in 2017 I served as the 40th king, King Arthur, and that was interesting. That was interesting both times. I mean, Merlin was a good warm up to being king. It kind of got you ready for you're not facing sideways to the crowd. There's 2 sides. You got to kind of please both sides. You can't just go to one side, which I found myself having a tendency to just kept throwing to the neutral ground, which is normally the side I ride on for the officers' float. And then I gotta give these guys some love over here. And
especially with Merlin and the king because both have a specific doubloon. We're both doubloon collectors, so we have to chase you down until we got one.
Right. So I served in both of those capacities.
What's the process for your crew to select the royalty?
Basically, an individual request. There's no name in a hat or anything. It's just people that within the crew express an interest. Like, I want, what do I have to do to become a king or queen or whatever? You're like, well, these are the steps. These are the dues or whatever the costs of it. These are the things that are going to be expected of you, and you kind of give them a rundown of what to expect, and that's pretty much it. We actually have a waiting list, which that started the year after I was king. People started lining up to, which is, I guess, a good problem to have. Lines are good for business, as they say.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. There's just, if you're interested, step up, say, yeah, I'd like to be king, and we'll see where they can fit you in.
Yeah.
One of the things that's also very eclectic about your crew is some of the throws that y'all do throw. I know that y'all have a lot of crew emblazoned throws, but one of the specialties is the Grail.
Yes. The Grail, that was a tradition that we started we did it on a test basis in 2017, the year I was king. The title float, that float had talked about, the lieutenant had always talked about, we need our own signature thing, you know. They came up with, they found some Grails they ordered online. They came up with decorating those, testing them out, handing them out. And they print out these little cards that they would put in, you know, after you decorate them, you put them in a bag, and they'd have a card or a piece of paper that'd give you directions as to, or told you what it was, like this is the year this thing was made and that sort of thing. And they tested it out, and they got a good response from the, they didn't come up with it quick enough where we could get enough of the Grails made for the crew to, you know, I guess endeavor in making, you know, everybody making Grails, which we started the following year, where we actually ordered a Grail specific to us and had our name on it, which just, you know, just to have our name on it, you cover that up with your decorations. And they started decorating those, and it really took off. People really, and I see you.
Yeah, I was
fortunate
lucky
to catch
enough
one.
to catch one of the Grails in last year's parade. But while this Grail here is very beautiful, I know there's some that are even more beautiful than this. And there's one very, very beautiful.
Right, you're talking about the Grail of Grails.
Yes.
Yes, that was started, an idea that also came along with these Grails. One of the members on that float lieutenant, that was Kevin O'Shaughnessy's float. He usually rides the title float. He's actually moved over to a newer float, which is slightly bigger. And a member of his group had the idea of coming up with this Grail of Grails, which was a, you know, a one-of-a-kind commissioned artwork, and it's the person who gives it away from our crew is randomly selected. It's they use some computerized name generating, number generating code or something odd. It's way over my pay grade. So so they figure out who it is, and they don't tell that person until the day of. They go to that person and say, okay, you were chosen. So somewhere along the parade route, find somebody that makes you smile or makes your day, or, you know, that you think is, you know,
deserving of the Grail.
Worthy of the Grail. Like, do they honestly, like, walk up to them in robes? Like, you are chosen.
No, well, kind of, sort of. The second year we did it, the person, because they brought them to the side, and it was, you know, okay, we got to, you know, we're going to talk to you, we got to, you know, give you these instructions.
And they're probably
were so
panicking.
careful about it, and they gave it away so carefully that the person who got it didn't even, like, post any pictures. We don't even know who that person is that got that second one. So it's out there in space somewhere. It was, so they said, well, we can't be that, you know, this is not like James Bond top secret.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a.
So you keep it quiet, so we don't want you, you know, the person who gets it, who has that responsibility, we don't want that person calling their family and say, hey, I got it, be ready on, you know, such and such a street corner, and I'll give it to you. And we don't want the public knowing what float it is. So, and that was the extent, that was the, I guess what do you call it? The intent of keeping it a secret. It wasn't to keep it so secret that nobody knows.
I mean, we're not general public. We run a parade. We're like Mardi Gras brothers.
I
You can
know
tell
who it
us.
was until it was given out. Like, oh, somebody got it. Okay.
Yeah, I heard you did that last year, and well, this year I'm on a mission to try to get all of them. So,
so
I have to think of something.
And then he's going to take all of them, and they form one super Mardi Gras.
Super robot Grail.
And you know, we always talk about, you know, the signature customized throws of the crews being a treasure. I mean, this Grail of Grails is a treasure. Like you said, it's a commissioned piece of artwork.
Right.
You know, I think last year it was like it looked like it was gold plated or something like that. And
I'm not sure. There's somebody else.
yeah,
responsible for
I
that
saw
job.
some of the factoids about it, like, you know, on the picture where it was where they
like
showed
covered
them
in crystals
giving
and
it to
all
the
that.
person.
It was
Yeah, it's got-
fancy.
Crafted from silver-plated copper and studded with over 150 glittering Swarovski crystals.
Swarovski crystals, yes. Yeah, those it's a very special Grail, very unique, and I mean, not these are one of a kind artwork, and then people decorate these. I mean, you could see the
time
they have it looks like what should be Christmas ornaments and medallions from other beads, and I've seen people use sequins where they just hot glue sequins around them. There's different methods of pouring paint on top of water and dipping the Grail to give it a marble.
Oh, all right.
effect. There's all kind of things I've seen people do that are just, really make these things unique. And so each one, I mean, so you get one of those. I mean, I hope you took a picture of it and put it on the.
Yeah, and I was about to mention that y'all have a Grail tracker site where when you receive a Grail, it comes with a little piece of paper in it or a little card that tells you, congratulations, you got a Grail.
Right.
Please share a picture of it on
what's it,
I think it's Facebook.com.
It's Facebook.com/go to
got a Grail.
No, got a Grail.
Yes, that one there. It's and if you want to embellish, tell the story about what it meant, because people say, "Oh, I was from out of town. I'm back in San Diego, and I got this Grail. I'm so awesome," and it was just so random, and and it allows the crowd to be participants in the parade. It's not just, hey, this is what we're showing you. It brings that audience participation to our parade.
I mean, to me, besides the balloons, the handmade things are really the keepsakes to me these days. Or, you can only catch so many beads in one. I honestly don't even want them. I usually give them to a tourist or a kid or whatever. I enjoy catching them. Don't get me wrong, but
right, the beads I stopped throwing. I mean, apologies to all bead manufacturers. I stopped throwing beads 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I just throw stuffed animals and frisbees and what other trinkets we have. Because it seems like that's what people want. You throw beads, and if somebody doesn't catch it, it just stays on the ground.
Yeah.
And then it goes in the sewer and clogs it all up. It's bad for the environment.
Well, eventually people will scoop them out and fill a pothole with them.
Yeah.
That too.
You start to see that all over Lakeview. It's hilarious.
Right.
Well, it's the tracker kind of reminds me of the dollar bill tracker, where in a sense where you said a guy from San Diego, or you could have people from St. Louis, you could have people from all over the world be like, hey, I'm from Russia and I got one of these Grails, and it kind of shows just how far people come just to go to your parade or come to Mardi Gras.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our crew itself has membership that is, I think we have 6 countries represented. I think we have 36 states. We don't have all of them yet, but we are well-rounded.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that participate, come in just for
It surprises me how many out-of-towners actually ride. Throughout Mardi Gras in general, they seem to be from all over the place.
Yeah, you get some people that moved away, and some that just are fascinated and want to visit. And I didn't know I could be part of a crew. Okay, let me join.
Yeah.
Wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've all lived the experience of riding in a parade. I mean, the adrenaline that goes through you when the crowds are cheering for you, and the extravagance of the parade, and all the events surrounding the parade. The post parties and the ball and all that. It's it's definitely something to where if you experience it once, you want to experience it every year.
You'll probably get hooked.
Yeah.
If you got the disposable income.
Yeah. It's not the. I mean, your parade's actually not so bad as far as Uptown fees. Where are y'all at now with as far as membership dues, and do you have mandatory parade throw packages you have to get or anything like that? Or how does that work?
Well, for the Krewe of King Arthur, is one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on is we want people to participate that want to participate
Sure.
and at whatever level. So if you pay for the dues and you just want to ride, get your costume, mask, get on, bring your throws, throw, and then, you know, other than renewing your dues and we don't talk to you for a year, that's okay. If you want to participate and help volunteer and do all the other things that we got going on with the ball, and we have the throw packages. So we don't make the members buy any throw packages. We have them available. We don't make them shop at any particular store. We have agreements with those stores, and we, you know, hey, we recommend you go to this store. They're gonna, you know, they'll give you a discount or something. And we allow, and some members find deals for them on their own that they just, you know, I know this store and I found this deal on these footballs and I bought them all from the guy, and we want that freedom for them, you know, to have that freedom. And so the dues are, to answer, I guess, your original question, are $425 a year. And
Which, yeah, that's
More than reasonable uptown. Those are.
and it might be going up next year. We're not sure. We got to do our calculations and so forth and budgeting. But yeah, $425. That's pretty reasonable for a
that's extremely reasonable for
Mardi
you know,
Gras.
the opportunity to ride in a Mardi Gras parade on the
St.
Uptown
Charles
route, on the
yes.
St. Charles route. Yeah.
Right.
We had mentioned the Grails and some of the personal and some of the specialty throws, and we briefly talked about doubloons. Y'all's crew is well known for the amount of doubloons that y'all throw. That y'all throw several doubloons.
Depending on who's the royalty that year, I know the year I was Merlin, the gentleman who was king that year, him and his family, they're big into doubloons and collecting and so forth. So they had a wide variety of doubloons. I made, I want to say 12 different doubloons between me and my niece was Morgana that year. And then the crew itself had, I want to say like 17 different versions. I counted them up and it was close to 50 different doubloons, colors, serrated edges, flat edges that year. Then the cloisonnés, you throw those in there. It's that number, it varies. It varies.
That makes it challenging on guys like us.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, that's
But it's
part
fun.
of the
Like, oh, I
adventure.
didn't know they threw this one, you know?
Right. And then you find out, wait, there was one that was given away just at the
Yeah.
ball and not to everybody else. Right? Yeah. So, we do throw a wide variety. There's a couple of years that they skipped. They actually just, we're not going to have a doubloon this year. Everybody's like, what?
Like,
Well, and then we bring it back, and then then it's all the rage. So, we do have wide varieties. We started minting shields 3 years ago.
yeah. I was about to say, that'd be 3-4 years.
Yeah, before that they had a shield. They had round doubloons, and they went to a shield, and they moved away from the shield. I think they changed suppliers. They went back to a round, and we brought back the shield. And one of our crew members actually, I'll say I'll give him credit. I don't know if it's actually true, but I think he's the one that started with these cutout shapes of doubloons, where you start seeing actual like footballs and purses and gumbo pots. And
We have a heart this year. We're riding Valentine's Day. So.
right, and a lot of that
So,
was,
like,
it used to be a
a lot of
shape
them
that was
now.
imprinted on a round doubloon. Well, now they're actually doing those cutouts, and they're doing cloisonnés as cutouts too, which makes it a little bit more interesting. So.
Well, I think that the cutouts definitely has increased the interest in doubloon collecting. That, you know, there were a few years where I would say that, you know, doubloon collecting was almost extinct per se, you know, to where
Yeah.
I know that the Doubloon Collectors Club was kind of suffering with membership for a few years. And once the cutouts really started to come around,
Right.
that, you know, you see a lot of new faces at the trades and swaps where.
Well, not only that, you see it on a parade route. I mean, I could tell.
It
was noticeable that it wasn't just your usual, because you could see the usual guys,
with
gals
the
with the
signs
signs and
and
the balloons, and
My dad's the one with the clown mustache. It's like I don't know, like a clown's wig. They have a multicolor wig.
right.
You'll see him now. Wow.
Okay, yeah, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Normally I don't pay attention. I just hear the balloons and I just reach in and grab a fistful and throw them out.
He's one of the nuts at the beginning.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I actually did. And I'm announcing this right now, but we have a custom throw with the King Arthur logo coin purse.
Yes.
I would tell my wife, I say, here, you know, I had so many coin purses I bought. I said, here, take, 20 or 30 of these and put random variations of doubloons in those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd throw them out, and the doubloon collectors would come up, hey, get these doubloons, and I would reach in, I'd know which one it was, like, here you go. And they're like, okay. And I actually saw a lady, she had a sign, oh, doubloons. I gave her one, and it actually had a whole set in there of the officer doubloons that we had. And she looked at it, with this, and she gave it to a kid, and then she walked off. So I told the kid, I said, hey, open up that purse. The kid opened it up, pulled out the doubloons, and I was like, see that lady, she wanted the doubloons, but she didn't look on the inside. She just saw on the outside what she wanted to see.
Yeah, she just saw the coin purse and
right.
thought,
Instead of,
oh, this guy didn't listen to what I asked for.
right. And it's,
I feel like when you throw the purse out, you feel what's inside.
She did. She
You
just
would have thought,
grabbed it
you
on
know.
the edge and just kind of.
I
Ungrateful.
feel like you would feel the weight at least. I don't know.
Right.
That seems strange.
Whereas other doubloon collectors says, well, I'll give this to my niece or
Yeah.
whatever, and, my daughter or something, and at least eventually would have found out. She just, I don't want this. I want doubloons.
I already have a purse.
And I tell her, so she missed out. You got a whole set of officer doubloons.
Yeah,
and
which
she's
was-
a collector.
Which were extremely sought after, I'll add.
Yeah.
The officer doubloons are very sought after.
It's
because
challenging to
it's
get that
one
set.
float that
Yeah.
has them.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the one. And yes, we get pestered when people find out we have them. Before the floats are rolling, hey, you got this? Like, oh, man, can I have a sandwich first? Can I get a drink?
Yeah, I won't go pestering people before a parade. And like my dad gets all mad at these two particular guys because they'll run back and forth and just hound you, and just even though you already gave him some, and he's like, then they get all mad, won't give me any,
Right.
But yeah, he's continuing my grandmother's collection. So now I'm the keeper of the multi-generational doubloon collection now.
Right.
Have y'all announced y'all's theme yet for the upcoming year?
I don't know if it's been officially announced, so it might be announced officially here.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. So the theme is, I want to make sure I get it right, so I'll check my notes. 20 years in downtown New Orleans, because this is our 20th anniversary. In 2001 is when we started. It was the first year we rolled, so 2020 makes 20 years on St. Charles Avenue route.
Nice.
Wow.
So float titles, I can't tell you that right now because I don't know that all of them are actually written or thought up yet. So work in progress.
Well, also with a parade y'all size, it's I'd have to imagine that it's hard to remember all of those.
Yeah, even with writing some of the material, because I've assisted the crew with some of the themes and writing the themes, and but even the years that I helped write, it was what was that float again? How did we word that? I don't remember it. Right.
Do you have a personal favorite theme that the crew has ever done to where it's like, wow, that was an incredible theme?
I tell you, I've thought about this one in the past. It was actually, there was two themes that stand out to me. It was the year after Katrina in 2006. The theme that year was originally supposed to be different types of periodicals or magazines. We had floats that were supposed to be the Oprah magazine, there was Parenting magazine, there was a Travel and Leisure, Sports Illustrated, all these different. Well, Katrina happened, and we kind of looked at it again and said we need to do something towards Katrina, and then it all like fit right into place. Oprah had came, visited the city, so it was like one thing after the next, and it just worked itself out. So we wrote it, and that was the first year that we actually did satire, where we put word bubbles and sayings on the side of the floats, where the characters that were painted on the side were actually saying things and or whatever. And so I really enjoyed that from the first time we did satire, and that we were able to convert that theme. And then in 2017, when I was king, it was the 40th anniversary of the Krewe. So we did it. All the floats were, it was supposed to be a 1970s style of theme. We had Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Fever, disco music stuff. That was, all the floats were, it was all the 70s. And we changed it to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I'd been begging the captain to let us do. And he's like, isn't that a nonsensical, stupid kind of money? I was like,
Of course it is.
absolutely. And the thing that allowed us to do was incorporate the royalty, because they had a King Arthur, you had a Merlin, and the Merlin side was funny. Because we had put on there, Merlin, whatever, number 29 or whatever he was that year. But I put on there Merlin the Magician. There are those, in parentheses, there are those who call him Tim. And he didn't notice the sign. The guy that was Merlin that year, he didn't notice the sign. Well, he's riding the parade and he's wondering why everybody's yelling Tim. He gets off the float and he looks at the sign. He goes, what is that? What the hell? So we thought that was pretty funny. So I mean, the signage from start to finish was just Merlin. I mean, the Monty Python, the Holy Grail. It was just, instead of mine saying
seems a
just
natural fit for the parade, honestly.
And the captain to this day has yet to watch that movie.
Oh.
We encouraged him to. He's like, it's kind of silly. I'm like, yeah, it's silly.
Yeah, that's what makes it so great.
I love the coconuts. So great.
My escort that year, he had a sash that said Patsy, that he wrote on it, said Patsy, and he had a string with 2 coconuts. And then towards the end of the route, we got to Canal Street. His kids had ran, because his kids served as my pages, and they started running out of throws. Well, he was just sitting there, just knocking coconuts. Well, so there's a few people that got that, and others not so much. They're like, "What? I didn't get this theme. Why? It's silly. It's nonsensical." Like, yes,
Of course.
success.
Yeah.
So those 2 themes really, I enjoyed from that standpoint of being able to do the satire, because we don't really hold. Our themes kind of bounce around. We're not a satirical crew like a Muses or a D'état, and we're not just a classical themed crew. We try to find ways to make people not only laugh, but we want them to, if they're scratching their head going, what does that mean? They got to look at their phone. What does that word mean? It gets them involved. And to me, that's a legitimate as a response as laughter or whatever is, to have you confused is, you're engaged in it. So yeah, those were my 2 favorite, I'd have to say.
When do y'all hold y'all's ball?
The ball is usually early in January. This year, it's going to be that first weekend, the 4th or 5th, whatever that Saturday is, right after New Year's, that first weekend.
They're like the 7th or 8th, whatever.
The 4th is the Saturday, I think, is what it is. I don't have my phone with me, so somebody's going to have to check that calendar date. We try to have it as early as possible because, as I said earlier, before we own our own floats and we rent them out to other crews, and so there's a lot of float movements that happen as you get closer to Mardi Gras. So we can't have too much going on closer to Mardi Gras. So we try to get the ball done and over with. And,
have y'all ever had a situation where y'all had to reschedule for
the parade?
Yeah, for rain or.
In '98, they held a ball only. They didn't hold a parade. In '99, they came back, and the theme that year, which I thought was interesting, and you thought we were dead. And then in 2000, they suspended operations altogether. And I want to say that's when they were on the Gretna route. Membership was kind of fallen off, and then they were able to move to the Uptown route, which kind of re-energized them a little bit, stabilized the crew, I guess. So, but those are the 2 years. We've been rained on 3 times.
That's
It's
pretty
always
good
sunny.
odds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good odds.
Yeah.
The last time was 2015. 2015, it rained on us, and we rolled, and
Good little run then.
people still came out, and
Yeah, I remember that year. That was
That was a pretty empty year. We were kind of standing on the side of a building. It just would not stop.
yeah.
And man, it just kept going. My dad rides in Carrollton, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
had a minimum stay for that. But by the time you're wet, you just stay and have fun in it. Who cares?
right.
Once you're wet, you're wet. You
You,
know?
you only might get hypothermia.
I mean, it wasn't a real cold day or anything. I mean,
or pneumonia or something.
Nah, it wasn't bad. It was,
No,
in fact, it rained when we started rolling. It rained for like 30, 40 minutes.
mhm.
And then I think by the time we got to St. Charles Avenue, it kind of eased off.
Yeah, it
And
just
by then, you're soaked. Everything
Yeah.
you're throwing is wet. Stuffed animals are just balls of water. So you just try to get rid of everything because you don't want to keep it. It'll just mold in your shit, your attic or your shed or wherever you keep your stuff. So
it was basically I was supposed to stand there just chatting with a bunch of officers most of the day because there wasn't too many people around.
right.
That's the one problem with it. You go through all that effort, all the nightmare
Planning.
of putting something together, and rain just runs the crowd out. Which is
Yeah.
it is what it is, but it's a bummer. It's don't rain on my parade. It's the saying all over the world.
Right. Right.
I know one of the things that a lot of crews pride themselves on is their activity in the community. What's some of the community work that y'all do, and some of the activities that y'all do outside of the parade itself?
Outside of the parade itself, for the most part, we've supported other crews, and there was a lot of crews that had things that they supported. Or you have there's a one event that the Cruise for Carnival's First Responders, which is an auction event. In fact, it's actually coming up in a couple of weeks. That the captains of New Orleans Mardi Gras organize, and they raise money to assist the police officers, EMT, the firefighters, the guys that are out there, the men and women that are out there.
Yeah.
That one year they might need radios or something, or I don't know, vests or something like that, and they'll give their needs or whatever to that organization, and they whatever money is raised, they split it up, and so we support that by going, buying tickets, bidding on items, and there's other crews that have their own functions that we support. There was this Krewe for Alex, which started 2 years ago, which was a captain's grandson or grandnephew. And I apologize to Alex for not remembering the relationship, but the child was born with NF1, which is some you'd have to look that term up, and because it's a medical term. But the child suffered from that, and they started this. It's another one of these auction fundraiser things to raise money, and so another thing that we go and we help out. We've donated rides to other organizations, local schools. When they have raffles, we raffle a ride off in our parade, and we're trying to coordinate. I'm not sure how far we've gotten with this because there's other people that handle this part of it, the charitable stuff of the crew. We're trying to push for an anti-bullying campaign, and I'm not sure what we've got going on with that yet, but that's going to be our message going forward, and that's going to be something that we can hang our name on. Aside from helping other crews.
Yeah, that's a very good cause.
Right.
So you mentioned that y'all also own your own floats.
Yes.
And I know that y'all kind of do that under the PFJ name, I guess.
Yes. When it was just a couple of crews that we rented floats to, you could count on, a handful of volunteers from the crew to help out with some things. I mean, there's still people that have to get paid, like the carpenters and the artists that paint the floats. But there are things, cleaning the floats, fringing the floats, that we would get volunteers. When that side of it started growing and our own crew started growing, where the number of floats we owned, it just got to be too much. And you weren't getting as many volunteers. It kind of had to split off and actually become its own, I guess, business, separate from the crew, where they weren't kind of mixed. It was separate. So, I mean, it's still, I want to say I'm not sure how it's structured. That's one of those things that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I kind of have an understanding of it. I want to say that the float ownership side of it is a family-owned business, but it's not like a real profitable thing. All the money goes back into the floats
Right,
and the
yeah,
property.
I mean-
It's not like people making millions of dollars. It's
Right,
the
yeah,
money goes back into the
it
floats,
takes
the
a-
escorts, the paint, the lumber, the steel, the real estate, the bills, the electricity, all of that. It goes to maintain it, and that way, not only does King Arthur's Parade look good, but all other crews that use those same floats, it's the same quality. So if you got 10 riding floats that are single decker or small double deckers, as opposed to the 50-foot super floats, the artwork is still going to look just as good. The props are still going to look just as good. So everybody that rents the floats from us, they're getting the same quality of I guess, a presentation.
And I think I saw a fact that y'all are up to like 130 individual floats or something like that, or
That sounds about right. Counting all the minis, the signature floats, the royalty floats.
It's a pretty sizable collection.
Yeah, they're spread out all over the place. Yeah, there's a den in Baton Rouge, one in the east. There's a couple in West Wego, and then there's a couple of empty lots where we just kind of, during Mardi Gras, floats just kind of get thrown in because it's easier to just shove them in the
Transport
yard
them
rather
later.
than try to put them nice
put them
and
back
neat in
into
building. Which, that takes a little time if you've ever seen that happen.
Yeah.
It's,
Those things are
not like parking a car.
shoehorned
Right.
in there. Those things are shoehorned in all those.
Every inch of real estate.
Yeah.
It's,
I think Bacchus may be the one that it's just so large that all their floats are kind of on display. Most other ones are, you can barely walk through
right.
between them.
So you'd mentioned signature floats.
Yes.
I know that Merlin and Morgana have kind of their own signature floats. Do y'all have any other big signature floats that
Yes,
are?
and I'm going to refer them and make sure I get the
Sure.
information correctly because I guess I'll point out four. You mentioned Merlin. Merlin the Magician's float. Morgana rides on that float as well. That float was built in Viareggio, Italy by Raul Berticelli in 1988. And he also built, we have a float that we put in our parade, it's called Ray, and it's just a prop, it's a sun.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking
Right,
about.
it's just a dink. It's, dink float with that prop on it, and because we always have sunshine on our parade.
Yeah.
He built that float originally, and the prop has been saved off of it. And that one was originally built in 1983 in New Orleans by Raul for a French parade that took place. I think it ran 1 year, and then it just died. And I don't remember that. That came from the captain, so that's his information, but I'm sure it's accurate. The King's float, I know that was made in Spain and shipped over. It was in Valencia, Spain, and that was built in 1987. And aside from a few upgrades, repairs, maintenance, repainting and that sort of thing, the props themselves and the base float, they pretty much haven't changed. And this year, that just passed, we had a triple tandem float. It was our first triple tandem float that, for some reason, it didn't get hooked together for the parade, and it stayed in 3 individual parts, which I was so disappointing when I saw it come down the street at the end of the parade. But that float was, it had a Grail on the front, and it also had shields along the top edges of the back floats, the B and the C, which were honoring our float lieutenants who did a majority of, they do a majority of the work of recruiting members and mustering volunteers if you need help with stuff. And so it was a way to honor them and their efforts to help make the crew a success. And then, also to, I guess, self-promote our diversity and inclusiveness of our crew, and how much, that wide range of members and the different types of float lieutenants, different membership, and what they are. And that's what that float represented. So those signature floats really, special, I guess, for our crew.
Yeah.
So how did y'all choose the name King Arthur?
So the name King Arthur comes from, of course, the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Actually, more personal to Phil, the captain, growing up in the 60s and into the 70s, he was very much influenced by JFK and reference to Camelot, to him and that family when they were in public office. So he was influenced by that, and that piqued his interest, and I guess he wanted to model the crew somewhat with the Knights of the Round Table, where there is a leader, but that symbology of the Round Table, where when we're having a discussion, when we're working things
everyone's
out,
a king, basically, right?
Everyone has a say, has a voice, which is something that we do promote at our lieutenants' meetings. We have the tables, well, we set them up in a square, but everybody's kind of facing each other, and we encourage feedback, we encourage criticism, because we want to fix things if it's wrong. We want to hear about it, and it keeps it allows us to I guess maintain that level of dedication from the lieutenants, and as well as the members, that they can say something, and you're not just going to be told to shut up, this ain't your crew, and we'll find somebody to replace you. It's and I don't want to say that other crews do that, but we don't want to have that impression at all. And,
right.
So the members and the float lieutenants, they all can speak their mind. And the fact that the first meeting after the parade, we have it's a general membership. Actually, no, it's a lieutenant meeting, then a general membership meeting, where complaints or any suggestions, where we get suggestions for throws, or people suggest things about the floats, like, hey, can you put handles so when we stepping up, because it's a straight shot and it's a ladder, it's not, because all the floats don't have those trap doors with the angled stairs.
Right.
You're going up straight, and if the float's not on level ground, if you go up on the wrong side, you're kind of leaning backwards. And so little suggestions like that we get to implement and improve and upgrade the things about the crew. So.
Has your crew ever ridden with like a grand marshal, or had like a celebrity that?
We've had a couple of grand marshals, celebrity grand marshals. I don't know the name because I don't watch reality shows much, but I know other crew members were excited about it. And I don't know if it was a Big Brother cast, or it could have been some other show, and they're all going to be correcting me later on when they hear this.
They'd be like, no, it was real world.
Somebody right. But I know we had that group. I think that was the year after Katrina. They happened to be in town, or how did that work out? I know somebody else had that connection. They're like, oh, I got these people, I knew them, and they're going to ride on the float. And so they rode Marlin Favorite after the year that LSU won the championship in 2000. It was 2007 that he rode, and he actually, I guess he raps on the side, and so they had speakers on the float, and his family got to ride. And I want to say his dad is good friends with the captain. They know each other from the West Bank. And who else? We had Arthur Hardy, ride, and I want to say he was in a convertible that one year as Grand Marshal. Who is the radio personalities they had? It was one of those FM radio stations. I don't listen to radio a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I always listen to, back in the day, cassette tapes or CDs now. Or I listen to talk radio, football game, talk stuff. But
was it y'all that had Spud one year?
we did have Spud, yes.
Spud McConnell?
Glad you remembered that. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot that one because my
Spud's
sister.
hilarious.
Oh yeah.
He'll get you rolling.
Yeah. He's friends. He went to high school with the king that year. Tommy Bourgeois was the king that year. It was his good friend. He asked him. He was actually at our ball. Really, really good guy. Really good guy.
Do you know how many floats y'all are going to be riding with this year?
Haven't figured out the actual firm number. I know it's about 45 to maybe 50. I don't think it's over 50.
Wow.
I think we were slightly over 50 last year, and that's if you separated each one of them. Some of them are going to be pull units or tandem floats, and then the royalty, of course, the front floats, the captain, the officers, those are singles. So about 45, 50 floats.
That's an impressive number.
Yeah, it's quite the show.
How would you recommend someone who's interested in joining your crew to get more information and register?
City ordinances in New Orleans for New Orleans crews, I guess, forbid public advertising of membership. So I can't say, come join our crew in any kind of public forum. I guess, I don't know if this is a public forum. So, but I can say you can go to our website, find out information about our crew. There's other information there. It's www.crewofkingarthur, one word, all lowercase, crewofkingarthur.com. You have a Facebook page, Krewe of King Arthur, and there's, I think we mentioned earlier, the Got a Grail, Grail tracking site on Facebook that you can find out more information about the crew. And so, but officially we have to say it's by personal invitation only.
So how did you get into
Leave
the
it to
crew?
New Orleans.
Right. I think it's a traditional thing.
Yeah.
That they want to maintain certain traditions of. So I joined the crew in 2002 for the 2003 season. It was friends of mine. I mentioned earlier my escort for when I was king. Him and his wife actually, Melissa Keller, well, she was Melissa Mancuso. I don't think they had gotten married yet. Did they get married? When did they get married? Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Anyway, she was the first queen in 2001 when they rolled in New Orleans for the first time. And the following year, they didn't ride as, they were return king and queen. And the year after that, they started their own float. They asked me to ride. I always thought Mardi Gras was really super expensive. You had thousands of dollars for ball tickets and throws and membership dues, and it was some of those unattainable things. And when he told me how inexpensive it was, or inexpensive King Arthur was, I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot." I'd rode a couple of times with them in the Krewe of Aquila when that used to be a crew. In fact, that's how they met, was in the Krewe of Aquila.
Okay.
So I joined, and I never imagined I'd be this involved in Mardi Gras, with, behind the scenes, ball planning, float movement planning.
Are you native New Orleans or surrounding area anyway?
I was born in New Orleans, raised in Mid-City.
So you were probably immersed in the Mardi Gras tradition, especially back then when they had quite a few Mid-City parades,
Yeah, actually, my dad rode 4 years in the Krewe of Pegasus.
Okay.
Well, he was in the National Guard, so that crew, I want to say, had a lot of National Guardsmen that were members. And he rode, my older sister, she was a maid 1 year. My dad was a riding lieutenant. I remember that year because my mom complained about the cost of renting a horse and paying the horse fees. And he just mumbled and just complained the whole time. But
Your dad understood there was more important things to do.
That's right. Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Priority.
Top priority.
That's right.
Do you have a personal favorite crew besides your own crew?
Besides King Arthur, I would have to say that, again, there's a couple of them. I like them for different reasons. I love Dayton and their satire.
That's a great one. It's one of my
And
favorites.
When
it's
they-
beautiful floats. I mean,
And the royal artists that have taken that over. Yeah, they do a fantastic job with the satire. Krewe of Nix, which, kind of, I know Muses started off with, I guess, the next generation of women's crews, because Iris had been around for so long, and there really wasn't any spot for women to go. And then Muses started, but then they kind of capped their membership.
Yeah.
And that forced these other crews to start forming,
Yeah.
which is where Nix came from, was actually the captain. She was on the waiting list and said, I'm going to start my own crew, you know, which it filled a tremendous need that women didn't have a place to go. They had some co-ed crews. If you didn't go co-ed, then there were male crews where the women, go wait in the grandstands for the men to come home. And it's like, no, I want to participate too. I got disposable income. And so, yeah, I like their crew, the crew of Sparta, Knights of Sparta, Choctaw, the Rex. I mean, Rex is like, to me, is always the gold standard.
It is.
The pinnacle of everything they do from their website, the costumes, the theme,
the pageantry.
the pageantry.
Yeah.
It's all well thought out. All the details. And I know their website is set up for like kids in school at different age levels to go to the website, and there's actual activities for them to do. I haven't been to the website in a while, but I know they do those things. The Knights of Sparta, their crisp, almost military structure and organization, the way they get things done. The crew of Choctaw, I mean, we mentioned that earlier, how they were instrumental in starting King Arthur, and
They have such a unique look, though. Like, they're one of the parades that immediately you see the float and you know who they are. It's not a.
right.
Some floats are a little, I wouldn't say generic, but like you couldn't necessarily point your finger at them like, oh, that's from this parade. They have a unique look. I've always
they
liked
have
them.
some signature floats that their Chiefs float. They used to have a dink, and they don't use it anymore. It had the TP with the Native American on the front of it.
Yeah.
But the groups of individuals in that organization, they still, I mean, again, we have a working relationship. They help out, we help out, and they're really a great group of people to work with. I mean, as far as organizations and as far as marching groups, I have to have the cherry bombs by my float.
Cherry
It's mandatory. It's such a fun dance
Cherry
group.
bombs. So how many times did you hear cherry bombs along the way?
At least 3 or 4 times every year. It was by my King's float. It was behind us, and then it's by the officer's float every year now. I make sure it's by us.
I noticed last year they had actually changed their song, which I think used to basically run in a continuous loop. It was a Cherry Bomb song. Well, every time I've seen them anyway, that song was on.
They have a couple of songs.
Okay.
Yeah, it loops. When you ride behind them, you start hearing songs.
I was wondering, I was like, man, that's got to
You
drive
might have
people
just called
crazy.
them by that.
Yeah, it seemed like it for several
10
years.
songs, but they play that one every third song.
Oh,
or something
okay.
like that. But that's a fun dance group. They really have fun with the crowd.
So I want to thank you for coming on with us today.
Well, thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Signing out. We'll see you on the route. Happy Mardi Gras! Thank you again for tuning in to us tonight. Also, thank you to tonight's guests. Be sure to check out our guests. We have the links below in the description here on the audio and video podcast. And also, you can follow us if you like what you're seeing.
It's on Facebook at Parade Route Tales.
And also, we're on Instagram at Parade Route Tales. And on Twitter, it's at Parade Route Tale. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Scoop Show Network. We're trying to put as much content out there. We've been putting pictures and sharing different
Small
events
videos,
and
little clippets of what's coming up, future soon events of our guests. So, yeah, keep an eye out.
yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Signing out. We'll see you on the route.
Happy Mardi Gras. All right.